Hi, my name is David, and I'm an employee with Abilities Unlimited. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the Lakers. As you can see, I'm a big Lakers fan, and I'm going to go over this topic chronologically, from start to ending. And the reason why I'm a big Lakers fan is I'm going to give you one guess: winning. So for the Lakers, winning started for them when they traded for Lou Alcindor. I believe I pronounced that correctly. Being that this is going to be posted on YouTube, I would like for you to kind of interact with me a little bit here. And I have a question for you now. Who is Lou Alcindor? Anyways, the Lakers traded for him in 1975. And, Dr. Jerry Buss bought the Lakers in 79. Before that, they already had a good amount of titles. However, when you get a player like the player I asked you about, that starts something great. When it did start, after Dr. Jerry Buss decided to draft Magic Johnson first overall in 1979, I believe, it started Showtime. These two players, of course, in basketball, as you know, there are how many players on the court at all times? 5, right? So, you can't have 2 players to win a full game of basketball. Therefore, you had to get other players, such as James Worthy. This created Showtime. Byron Scott is another player I should mention. When you had Showtime in the 1980s, the Lakers won 5 championships. Between the Boston Celtics and the Lakers, they've combined for quite a few titles. In fact, 33 to be exact. I wanted to ask you another question actually, which brings me to the Lakers and Boston rivalry. Who has more titles? The Boston Celtics or the Los Angeles Lakers? I feel it's a relatively easier question than the previous questions. I guess based on your age, for me it's a lot harder because I'm 34 and I don't know what happened in 1975. However, I would like to know who has more championships, and if you're able to find that out, let me know how many they have. Who has one more than the other. There's a hint there. Anyways, the reason why I was giving my age, not to age myself, but to tell you that I watched basketball in the 1990s. I would love to talk about Lakers. I can go on about this days, weeks, months, years. However, I'm a little limited as to what I know based on my age. So I grew up in the 1990s, and when I first started watching basketball, it wasn't so great. Growing up in that era, we had Nick Van Exel and Eddie Jones, Eldon Campbell, Sean Brooks, players like that. But it wasn't until we got a few different players to which things changed in the 90s. Similar to what happened in Showtime, we won a good amount of championships with one player in particular, actually 2 players in particular. I want to ask you that question as well. Who were the 2 players in 1986 that the Lakers acquired via trade and drafted for? Well, actually, excuse me, one via trade and draft, and then one that was signed for. Once you can answer these 2 questions, I think you'll realize I'm wearing one of them. I'm wearing his jersey. So when that happened, the Lakers, of course, you don't start winning right away with a couple of young players. You don't know each other. You got to get to know each other like anything else, like working with somebody, right? You got to get to know the person you're working with, how they like to interact, and things they don't like. More importantly, things they do like, probably. Anyways, they had to know how to work with each other, how to lob the ball, how to pass the ball, when he's gonna jump, how high he can jump, things of that nature. Give it about 4 years when they figure that out. This leads me to the next era of championships, the three-peat. And this was in 99, 2000, 2000, 2001, and 2002. So for me, that was prime for me. I was going to the basketball games during this time. I was 17, 18. I loved basketball. If I was 5, 10 inches taller, I would love to have been in the NBA, but unfortunately things didn't work out like that vertically. However, that was my favorite time in basketball is the 2000s, maybe because of my age and just what was going on. And I would like to know, when is your favorite time in basketball? Did you have a certain team that you like? Please leave a comment about who your team is. I'm a Lakers fan. Maybe you're a Boston fan. I'm not trying to hit on you either, but there is a rivalry there. And if you don't like basketball, what is your sport? You know, maybe I can talk about that if you want, or one of my colleagues can talk about that. Anyways, going back to the topic at hand, my favorite time is the 2000s, of course, the Lakers. Um, Reason being is because of winning. You know, we were pretty dominant, almost the most dominant team ever. Since the Warriors came along, there's been some more debate as opposed to the Bulls in the 90s, which, you know, were very dominant in their era. You know, the Boston Celtics were dominant back in their time. However, for me, being in LA and watching the games, 2000, 2001, and 2003, 2002 were the biggest, um, 01, 02, 03, and then 04, unfortunately, we lost to the Detroit Pistons in a 5-game series. After that, I think there was some of this between Shaq and Kobe. Therefore, that became a split up between the two players. Once Shaq went to Miami, Kobe was in Los Angeles, 05, 06, 07, 08. You know, it took him a while to endure before he conquered another championship. Shaq was a little more fortunate. He teamed up with a player named Dwayne Wade, who had similarities to Kobe, Flash, and Shaq was able to win another ring in 06 before Kobe did. However, the Lakers did another big trade for Pau Gasol. It happened in 08. The Lakers went to the finals in 08. You know, something we were there for in 04. And it felt like a bitter, similar taste, unfortunately, with the Lakers falling a little short to the Boston Celtics. However, the next year, the Lakers were able to go back to the finals and beat Dwight Howard and the Orlando Magic. And then the next year was a redemption year. A 7-game series between the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers, with the Lakers prevailing in the 7th game at Staples Center, which was pretty epic. You know, that for me was the best time as well. This kind of game that went over Boston. You know, I was the biggest fan in the early 2000s. However, getting that win over Boston was huge, considering the problems we had between the two of them. Between 2010 and 2020, let's not talk about that. Unfortunately, the Lakers had a lot of losing, making it to the playoffs, and not overcoming. They traded for Dwight Howard and an aging Steve Nash. Didn't work out so well. That experiment failed. Unfortunately, we gave up a few draft picks to acquire those players. Fast forward some years, we got some good rookies, got rid of them, decided to go with LeBron James. And right now he's our superstar that we have. He's about my age, but he plays like he's about 15 years younger than me. So I think there's some promising things ahead for the Los Angeles Lakers. As of right now, you know, we're not watching basketball. However, you know, that was my Lakers, my favorite team, the team that I love to watch, the team I'm looking forward to watching as soon as this quarantine is over. I'm very passionate about them, as you can see with the beanie and the jersey. Let me know if you like my little channel here. Let me know if you don't like it. Let me know if you, answer some of the questions that I asked previously here about the titles and the player I asked for the name of. And thank you for watching my channel. If you would like to hear me talk about other sports, let me know. If you want to hear me talk about Lakers more, please let me know. Have a nice day.